Well, it's certainly not balanced, right?
No,
if you
it's
look
not
at the
balanced.
top 1% of the world is $34,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you make $34,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the world. You're basically living in like lower income America.
Right.
Is the top 1% of the world.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It is.
And so, like, why is that? Well, corrupt governments, lack of freedom, lack of democracy, but also exploitation from American businesses where they go over there and they start sweatshops. And, you know, I mean, one of the greatest ironies is people complaining about social justice issues on an iPhone, which is made by slaves.
Oh, yeah. It's a horrible thing.
I had Siddharth Kara on the podcast. He's a journalist that traveled to the Congo to watch them mine cobalt, and snuck into these cobalt mines. And he wrote this. Is it called Cobalt Red? Is that what it's called? It's out. It's out at the end of this month. It's not even out
what
yet.
they do to get the?
It's fucking horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, horrific. It's all slaves. It's slaves. It's women who are 19 years old with Cobalt Red. How the blood of the Congo powers our lives.
And that's some of what goes into like electric cars and stuff too, right?
Yes, cobalt. Yeah. It goes with lithium-ion batteries. It stabilizes them. So, you know, there's all sorts of shit that has to. That's a cobalt mine.
This is the thing is that we look at these wide shots of just like clogs of people. That's how most human beings live, and.
Well, this is particularly egregious. But
and this is what are they? They're making iPhones in there.
First of all, look at that dude right there, the one with the tan shirt.
Yeah,
that dude's jacked. If I was that guy, I'd be like, "Hey, buddy, do you know how to wrestle? Like, come here. You want to make some money?
Yeah.
Like, look at the size of that motherfucker. That guy's got superior genetics.
This is some guy. This is some guy. He could live in Cincinnati.
Right.
He could work at the Avis at the airport in St. Louis,
or he could be a UFC champion.
Yeah, but he's in this huge pile of people, so that we can have
phones,
the new phone.
Yeah,
it is. It's a crazy amount of. It's so lopsided.
So lopsided,
and then our lives become more and more pointless until people are like, should we just give Americans money? You know, like Andrew Yang's idea. Let's just give them money and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's just fucking
like,
so
what are we doing? What the fuck? The point of life used to be, don't die. That used to be the point of life.
Yeah.
Don't die, pass on your sperm or whatever. And then somewhere in the margins, you'd be like, this feels good. You know, like next to a fire and you just almost died, but you cooked the thing that tried to kill you and you're eating it. And you go, all right, I feel good. This feels nice. And you get to enjoy the stars in the sky, you know? There's something to that. But this point of like, just give everybody money every week so that they can buy. But who's doing anything? Like and just let
Where's the money coming from?
Let them make the shit. They're invisible. And then let's all just be. And then we start having conversations about what's the right way to say things and what's the right stuff to put in your body and what's the right position to sleep in. Because it's a joke. It's just funny to me, I guess, is the thing. Like I see
what you're saying.
I remember I was at a wedding and there was a guy there who was Tibetan and with his wife. And my wife and I were talking about our dog. And we're saying that she was getting surgery. She's had a hard month because and he goes, I'm sorry, who was getting surgery? And we said, our dog. And he just laughed really hard. He was like, what? Our dog was in surgery. And he's like, I'm really sorry. And he was like, I'm sorry. I don't understand. He thought like our mom was having surgery or something. It's like, you give your dog surgery? You put a dog in an operating room and operate them? This guy who's like from some place in Tibet was like, that's insane. You know, it's like my chicken has a psychiatrist on some level. It's like ridiculous. We're from, and I looked in that guy's eyes and I'm like, I want to be him. It's not that I'm ashamed of me being because of him, but I just think, we've gotten really far away, and that's me and how I feel. I mean, when I meet kids. My kids' age, and I talk to my kids. I'm like, they're ahead of me in some ways, and they got something new that I'm not sure of. And my nephews, I have four nephews. Well, they got their eyes are forward, you know, and a lot of the shit.
What do you mean?
Well, like a lot of the shit, you know, that we worry about. You know, these kids are growing up with the internet and TikTok, and they kind of they're smarter about that stuff. It was a big jolt for us, the internet, but they're
Well, they're growing up with it. They don't know
so
a
they're
life
brighter.
without it.
I know they're going to.
They're adapting.
There's an energy to my kids and their friends that I really admire, and I think that gives me hope. You know, I always have hope for human beings. I think human beings figure things out.
Human beings figure things out.
They do. I think and they also mean well on the whole to each other. They hurt each other a lot, but I think that people don't want to. And there's always extraordinary, the kind of things that go down in history of extraordinary moments by Kennedy or Obama or somebody. But I see them all the time. If you ride the subway, you see people take a bit of abuse and go like, okay, you go ahead. Like those moments you go, well, you just saved the world, buddy. You just, in your own circle. I mean, that's, I guess, and I think one thing a lot of people are doing is looking at the big picture too much and thinking they listen to podcasts and they have a whole world opinion. But your only responsibility is the space you take up and the people you encounter.
Right.
That's all you should be thinking about.
Yeah, and when you're thinking globally, it's a giant distraction.
Yes.
And really, you don't have any real ability to affect things that much.
No. The things you can do is be kind to people you know and that you encounter people every day. Try to live a life of interaction instead of distraction, and be out and look at folks and treat them okay. That's like huge. There's a lot of people. Like there's a great movie called The Man for All Seasons. It's about Thomas More, I think. This guy who was the king's, he was the Chancellor of England during Henry VIII. I'm not going to tell about the whole movie, but it's remarkable. I love the movie. And there's a scene where he was a very powerful man. So this one guy keeps trying to get him a position in government. And he says to the guy, I don't think you'd be good at it, but I'll get you a job as a teacher. And he goes, why would I want to be a teacher? And he says, I think you would be a great teacher. And the guy said, but who would know it? And he said, well, God, your students, your friends, and yourself. That's a pretty good crowd, Yeah. Like I think of life more that way now. Like, it's cool I could be a big, or then the negative side of it. How are we going to, all this fucked up, who's going to solve all this? And
right.
But if you can just be a good person and do your best anyway. You do your best. That's all anybody can do. You also got to acknowledge that you've got problems in your head, and you're everyone's selfish in ways that ends up not being good for other people. Everybody has that.